The Heavenly Demon. Can't Live a Normal Life. By Sanchin. Chapter 306. At Every Turn. Part 1. The way Marquis Valentino viewed things was quite different from others. Unlike people who were amazed by Roman Dimitri's achievements after defeating the Kronos Empire and his swordsmanship revolution, the Marquis couldn't hide his excitement as a collector, eager to receive Roman's new sword. It was said that master artisans significantly valued their experiences when creating new works. And since Roman had experienced unbelievable events no ordinary man could experience, the Marquis believed the masterpieces he would forge would undoubtedly exceed his expectations. Roman's ambush against one of Kronos' defense outposts, the massacre of 300,000 troops, and his victory over Sulfur would undoubtedly become remarkable inspirations in his future works. Knowing this, Marquis Valentino grew impatient once the war ended. Day and night, he awaited news about Roman entering his forge to commence his new work. But he didn't hear a word, no matter how long he waited. A day after another, and sunrise after sunset, the Marquis tried to keep his patience. However, when approximately a month had passed, he abruptly jumped out of his seat in the middle of his afternoon wine and cried out, "I can't wait any longer like this." He truly lived up to his reputation as the greedy collector. He had lost his temper, losing his patience. It was considered a basic courtesy within the high society to arrange a meeting at least a few days in advance. However, the Marquis immediately left his mansion in the late afternoon and headed to Dimitri without any notice. The sun had already set by the time he arrived in Dimitri. Despite knowing his visit was discourteous, the Marquis headed straight to the Dimitri castle to meet Roman. Meeting with Roman was the only way to quench his thirst and help him sleep at ease. Don't get me wrong. I tried my best to wait patiently, worried you would consider me weird. How long must I wait to see your new sword? The Marquis asked. The Marquis didn't hide his thoughts. He openly expressed his honest emotions like a child sitting across from Roman. To be honest, I wasn't planning on coming all the way to Dimitri to see you since I didn't want to appear desperate. I really wanted to wait until you would notify me. But here I am. I know you didn't promise me anything before our war against Kronos, but you did say you would positively consider my request. I don't remember the last time I had a good night's sleep. Every day, I'm in my room wiping the dust off Blaze's blade, desperately waiting for a new masterpiece. So please, can you forge a new sword for my sake? The Marquis couldn't hide his desperate feelings. Contrary to the determined look on his face, his words were so childish that they made Roman smile. Roman smirked as he listened to the Marquis's complaints. Marquis Valentino was indeed an intriguing person. He was a unique person who was only interested in seeing Roman's new masterpiece, even at a time when the kingdom's future seemed bleak in its all-out war against Kronos. Even in his previous life, Junghik Bek had people clinging onto him with bags of gold just to buy one of his blades. However, their obsession couldn't compare with Marquis Valentino's. Come to think of it, Marquis Valentino was the first person who seemed to have surpassed the people he had met in his previous life. I was, in fact, going to forge a new sword as soon as things got settled here in Dimitri. I needed time to digest the new knowledge I obtained recently and wanted to test a few things before forging a new blade. I can't promise I will give you the new sword, but if you can wait a month, I promise to give you at least a chance to buy it, said Roman. The Marquis's face instantly grew brighter than the sun. He excitedly nodded with a bright smile as if he had won the world. Sounds great. Thank you very much. Though Roman never made any promises to give his new sword for free, the fact that he would soon begin forging one was enough to make Marquis Valentino continuously smile and repeat his gratitude as he left Dimitri. A few days later, Golden Bank transferred 1 million gold to Dimitri as promised. It had no other choice, worried its promises and agreements would lose their value if it refused to proceed as promised with Dimitri. Everything went as Roman had planned. If Golden Bank had refused to transfer the 1 million gold as promised, he intended to condemn the institution and nullify their agreement openly. And if it transferred the money, there was nothing he had to worry about but ending his ties with the institution. It was a win for Dmitri, whatever the circumstances. Who would have thought Golden Bank's infamous reputation as the devil of gold would live to haunt itself? Hoffman's ruthless means had tripped him over this time. It didn't take long for Roman to settle the situation. Once everything was solved, he entrusted the supervision of the soldiers' training to Chris and headed to his workshop, his forge. "Hans, I don't plan on leaving this place for a month. So, report important things, and I'll leave everything else up to you to decide," said Roman. "Yes, my lord," Hans nodded his head. Hans had already cleaned and prepared the forge, used to the situation. Creak. Thud. Roman stood alone in his workshop. He slowly approached the furnace as he reached for the hammer on the anvil. "I've forged swords until the very last breath of my life in Murim. The blades I have forged have always defined who I am. They are the projection of the depth and height of my powers and reflect the values of life I strive to achieve." A lot had happened over the past year. As Marquis Valentino mentioned, Roman had plenty of inspirations, and he had become incomparably stronger than he was back when he forged darkness from the countless battles. So he needed more time than usual. A month seemed adequate. He couldn't say how many swords he would be able to forge during that time, but he wanted enough time to pour all of his inspirations and experiences. Plus, he wanted to test his new ability. The flames of Inferno. Whoosh. Roa air. As Roman ignited the furnace, the flames surrounding his body began to slowly heat up the room. The Inferno flames were far more formidable than any fire Roman had encountered in Murim. Thus, he grew curious to find what kind of swords he would be able to forge with such a deadly fire. Roman would have eventually come to the forge to solve the curiosities he had in his mind in a few days, regardless of Marquis Valentino's visit. The scorching heat couldn't harm him. He had become one with fire even without the help of the divine art of fire. Hissus. A remarkable sight unfolded in the forge as the flames wrapped around his body. Roman finally hammered his first strike amidst the swirling flames. Clang! A loud, clear sound echoed through the workshop. The first day of the month began. Meanwhile, Hoffman returned to his bank and slammed down his desk, failing to suppress his boiling anger. Wham! "How dare that young rascal, Roman Dmitri, threaten me?" he growled. Golden Bank was always at the center of all powers in all of Salamander's history. With a wealth as powerful as a level 7 aura, Golden Bank had reigned over the continent with an influence not even the empires could dare challenge. However, Roman Dmitri crossed the line. He not only pointed his blade at its president's throat but also threatened him to offer 1 million gold at the cost of his life. Hoffman was devastated because he knew none of his predecessors had experienced such a humiliation. The reason he went to see Roman without any escort was because he was confident powerful beings like Dmitri wouldn't be able to threaten him. After all, the more power people had, the more they knew the significance of Golden Bank. Thus, he trusted his instincts and past experiences. He knew Roman Dmitri was never the servile type, but at least he expected the young leader to show some respect before the bank's authority. Never in his wildest dream did he think Roman would dare to reveal his teeth against him. It was his mistake. Hoffman had to pay the price for his complacency, bowing to Roman. Not to forget, he also had to offer 1 million gold. Hoffman didn't transfer the money simply to keep his word. As Roman expected, he couldn't leave precedence of breaking an agreement with his seal on it. He knew the consequences would lead people to lose faith in his institution and its promises. The president's seal carried much more meaning than just the seal itself. It didn't matter if the promise was made under duress. He had to fulfill his duty as promised, even as his body shivered in anger. "Roman Dmitri, you will regret your decision. You messed with the wrong opponent. Mark my words, I will show you what it truly means to stand against the devil of gold." Hoffman called for his servant. Aware of the president's anger, the servant immediately bowed his head to avoid eye contact. "Did you prepare the documents I requested last time?" Hoffman asked. "Yes, my lord. The analysis you've requested is complete." We have identified 4 major stakeholders currently engaged in large-scale steel trades with Dmitry, Valentino of Cairo Kingdom, Zenit of the Kronos Empire, Muriel of the Valhalla Empire, and Vincent of the Coalition. And as you can see, the stakeholders are all one of the richest houses of their respective states, leading their markets. They are responsible for 70% of Dmitry's steel trade. The remaining 30% surprisingly purchase their steel at Dmitry in person. And Zenit of Kronos has technically cut its trade with Dmitry since the war, the servant reported. 70% was a meaningful number. Hoffman sharply gazed down at the documents prepared by the servant and replied. Roman Dmitry, enjoy all you want with my 1 million gold. Let's see how long you can last even as your trading partners cut their ties with you one after another. I will bring you down to your knees before my eyes, he said with a grin. There was nothing more powerful than wealth in this world. Not even the deadliest blade could defeat it. The value of money was absolute, which was the source of Hoffman's confidence in his victory. Our first target is Valentino. Schedule a warp gate to Cairo at once, said the president. Yes, my lord, the servant nodded his head. Valentino currently served Roman. However, the president of Golden Bank knew that a merchant like the Marquis wouldn't easily ignore his agreement with the bank. Hoffman smiled as he prepared to leave. His revenge had just tipped off. The beginning of his revenge on Roman would start not in Kronos nor Valhalla but none other than with Dmitry's close ally's betrayal. Marquis Valentino warmly welcomed his guest, Hoffman, at the Valentino mansion of Kairos. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. How have you been, Marquis Valentino? Replied Hoffman. The atmosphere was bright. As the wealthiest man of Cairo, the Marquis had to keep amicable ties with Golden Bank. This wasn't the first time the two were meeting. However, as Hoffman entered the reception room, he was surprised by an unexpected guest. The president of the bank appeared a little uncomfortable by his presence. He is? Hoffman asked. This is Count Fabius. He had an appointment with me prior to your visit, and I thought it would be nice if he could introduce him to you, so I asked him to stay. But if you feel uncomfortable, I may ask him to leave, said the Marquis. Hoffman was hesitant to reply, unable to decide. He obviously wasn't very fond of Fabius, knowing he was a loyal servant of Roman. But at the same time, he thought the situation could become more interesting if the Count stayed. It would make quite a scene if he could convince the Marquis to betray Roman right before the Count. No worries, Hoffman replied. Thank you for understanding. Then, Marquis Valentino led Hoffman to his seat at a table across from Count Fabius. The Marquis and Hoffman began their conversation, facing each other. The reason I came to see you today regards Roman Dmitry, Hoffman began. What do you mean? The Marquis questioned. I got into a quarrel with Roman Dmitry recently. I would have let things go if it was just some heated debate over a trivial matter, but I couldn't because Roman Dmitry threatened to kill me, Marquis Valentino. He is responsible for burning the bridge between Golden Bank and Dmitry. And I'm willing to use all my power and means to get revenge on him. Ahem, Marquis Valentino cleared his throat at Hoffman's words, feeling uncomfortable. Hoffman believed this was his chance, so he pressured the Marquis by continuing his statement. That is why I came to see you today, Marquis. Normally, I would have gone to see Count Muriel of Valhalla first to pressure Dmitry, but I thought it would be better to see you first and give you a heads up. I won't beat around the bushes. Cut your ties with Dmitry. If you accept my request, Golden Bank promises to clear you from all interests regarding your loans for the next decade. But if you don't, you should prepare yourself to pay off all the loans you've made from my institution within the deadline, Hoffman threatened. He used both carrot and stick to turn the Marquis's heart. After all, the wealthy didn't do business with their own money but depended on liabilities to expand their business. They were the key to the success of their business. Thus, every billionaire on the continent had borrowed money from Golden Bank. Valentino would inevitably be burdened to settle all its debts at once. Plus, it wasn't just the liabilities. It also had to worry about its future ties with Golden Bank. Hoffman had faith in money, the source of ultimate power. However, to his dismay, Marquis Valentino smiled subtly after glancing at Count Fabius. "I'm sorry, but I can't betray Dmitri. I will settle my debts with Golden Bank as early as possible. In fact, I've already been notified about your meeting Lord Roman before your arrival. He told us to cut off all our ties with Golden Bank and leave no room for you to pressure us if we desire to keep amicable ties with Dmitri. And as you can see, I'm siding with Lord Roman." "Marquis Valentino, how could you?" Hoffman glared back at the Marquis. He was obviously perplexed by the Marquis's response. He never thought he would choose to pay back all his loans at once, which counted up to several hundreds of thousands of gold. Suddenly, a possible hypothesis crossed Hoffman's mind. The thought that perhaps Roman Dmitri had offered to give Valentino a part of the 1 million gold. With Dmitri's financial support, Valentino would lose his justification to betray Roman. Suddenly, a possible hypothesis crossed Hoffman's mind. The thought that perhaps Roman Dmitri had offered to give Valentino a part of the 1 million gold. With Dmitri's financial support, Valentino would lose his justification to betray Roman. "Don't take this matter lightly. If you refuse my proposal, Golden Bank will destroy Dmitri and do everything to eradicate Valentino," Hoffman threatened the Marquis viciously. It was a clear sign of threat. Facing Hoffman's hostility, Marquis Valentino's face grew dark in anger. "Do you not understand what I just said? Leave at once. Will you take responsibility if I get on Lord Roman's bad books and if he decides not to sell his sword to me? Our friendship is already over, so quit wasting your time for your pride and just leave. My relationship with Lord Roman is now much more valuable than yours," the Marquis warned. Things weren't going as planned. Before Hoffman could say another word, Marquis Valentino opened the door and called for his servant. "Our guest is leaving. Could someone kindly show him the exit?" Chapter 307. At Every Turn. Part 2. This was already the second time Hoffman was poorly treated in Dmitri. He couldn't even express his anger, startled by their hostility. He turned around, then spat, staring at the Valentino mansion. "How dare you treat me like this, Marquis Valentino," he said. It turned out Count Fabius's visit wasn't a coincidence. At first, Hoffman didn't think much of the Count's presence, but he noticed that Marquis Valentino and the Count were exchanging eye contact in between the conversation. It was clear evidence that Roman Dmitri had sent the Count to convince the Marquis to cut his ties with Golden Bank. Nonetheless, Hoffman couldn't understand why the Marquis would accept such an absurd request. After all, merchants were different from ordinary people. They were beings who prioritized profit above anything else. Though nestled in Cairo, Valentino would have been promised a bright future if it had decided to side with Golden Bank and build an even more intimate relationship. No other entity on Salamander had the wealth to offer 1 million gold as a ransom. To Hoffman's eyes, there weren't any practical benefits Valentino could earn by choosing to side against Golden Bank while joining hands with Dmitri. Hoffman recalled a rumor he heard about Dmitri recently. People described the internal bonds developed between Roman Dmitri and his followers as an impregnable fortress. It might be a mistake that I tried to convince Marquis Valentino first. After all, the Marquis has developed close ties with Roman Dmitri, starting from the rebellion in Cairo up to the recent war. It's a shame for the Marquis. He must have grown old to make a foolish decision to sell off Valentino's bright future for the sake of his fellowship. Never would Hoffman know that it wasn't fellowship but the Marquis's intense greed to win Roman's blade that had driven him to betray Golden Bank. Whatever the reason, it was no longer a concern for Hoffman because he knew he wouldn't fail in his next destination. Let's head back to Valhalla. The Valhalla Empire was home to Golden Bank's headquarters. Hoffman wasted a lot of time due to his visit to Kairos. If he had known Marquis Valentino would betray, he wouldn't have wasted time visiting him since Count Muriel was also in Valhalla, close to the bank's headquarters. If he had first visited Count Muriel, it would have saved him much trouble since he could have pressured Marquis Valentino with the Count's help. But it was already too late for regrets. When Hoffman arrived at House Muriel's mansion, He couldn't believe his eyes finding an unexpected guest again. "We meet again," the man said. A familiar sly smile greeted the president of the bank. His face instantly turned cold at the man's cheerful welcome, greeting him as if they were close friends. It was none other than Count Fabius. Hoffman had arranged a meeting right after he left House Valentino, but to his surprise, Count Fabius had arrived before him. "What is that man doing here?" Hoffman asked. "We had a previous engagement. Please come in." "I will take you to a separate reception room," Count Muriel said. Hoffman was irritated. After glaring at Count Fabius scanning through him, Hoffman followed the Count to another room. There was nothing he could do since Count Fabius had made prior arrangements. At least he was able to cool himself down thanks to Count Muriel's courtesy, unlike Marquis Valentino, who had asked him to join him and Count Fabius in the same room. Count Fabius's intention was obvious. Just like how he went to convince the Marquis, he must have come to see Count Muriel to request him to cut his ties with Golden Bank. But that was impossible. Hoffman knew out of all people, Count Muriel wouldn't be able to betray him. "How is your father doing?" Hoffman asked. "He's doing extremely well. In fact, I think he should just come back from retirement and lead this house again. He's been telling me how bored he is in retirement, so he recently began gardening. At least he's busy with his garden now. By the way, my father wanted me to extend his gratitude for the gift you recently sent to us. He said it really helped him a lot." "How did you get your hands on such a rare medicinal herb?" the Count said. "Well, there's nothing in this world money can't do. I invested extra money for my special friend, that's all." Wahahaha, Hoffman laughed. The atmosphere in the room was warmer than ever. House Muriel and Golden Bank, both deeply rooted in Valhalla, had developed an intimate relationship since generations before. Since the two had kept close ties since their predecessors, Count Muriel and Hoffman were close enough to celebrate special occasions from time to time. Thus, Hoffman took it slow in convincing the Count. He had nothing to worry about since House Muriel wasn't a pro-Dimitri party like Cairo or Hector. There was no reason for the House of Valhalla to side with Dimitri while betraying Golden Bank. So, Hoffman enjoyed his conversation, updating the Count with recent events for a while. He was confident he would be able to convince Muriel in such a comfortable atmosphere. When a few hours passed, and the teacup finally showed its bottom, Hoffman finally explained the purpose of his visit. "I came to see you because of Roman Dimitri." "I see. Roman Dimitri, he is out of his mind. His arrogance seems to have no end ever since he defeated Kronos in the war. He went as far as to threaten me, pointing his blade straight at my throat. Can you believe this? So, as the president of Golden Bank, I've decided not to overlook his insolence," Hoffman continued. His voice grew louder, reminded of the humiliation from that day. Anger began to fill his heart. "Golden Bank will block all our transactions with Dimitri from now on and will do everything we can to isolate them economically. So, Count Muriel, I hear you are importing a vast amount of steel from Dimitri. I'm here to request that you immediately halt your trades with them. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not here to threaten you. If you accept my request, I promise to find you a way to import your steel at a lower cost in return. Moreover, I will waive all interest on the money you borrowed from us," promised Hoffman. It was an unconventional proposal. Hoffman's plan to isolate Dimitri economically began with House Muriel. His plan was to convince all its trade partners to cut their ties and steadily destroy its economy by isolating its steel products from entering the global market. He couldn't hide his joy as he made his proposal to the Count. Roman Dimitri and his people, who knew nothing but their iron ores and steel products, would learn of their helpless reality when they finally become pressured by the ultimate wealth of Golden Bank. But to Hoffman's dismay, "My apologies, President Hoffman. But I won't be able to accept your request." Count Muriel kindly refused. This was never a part of Hoffman's plan. The president's eyes shivered at the Count's refusal. The atmosphere in the reception room instantly grew cold, as Count Muriel explained himself. I would have accepted your request, if possible, but you have to understand we are merchants. Considering the costs and benefits, I won't be able to cut my ties with Dmitri, the Count explained. Please explain to me again so that I can understand. If not, I will have to reconsider my relationship with you, the relationship we've developed over generations, Hoffman replied, gritting his teeth. Sure. Then, Count Muriel took a deep breath. He had already expected things to turn out like this when Hoffman requested to meet him. First of all, it's impossible for us to find a replacement for Dmitri's steel. The reason we import their products is because they are no doubt the best in the continent. You must understand. The warriors of Valhalla will never spend even a silver to buy low-quality steel. So, even if we do replace Dmitri's steel, it will become impossible for Muriel to sustain our monopoly in Valhalla's market without the steel from Dmitri. This is the first reason, the Count answered. Count Muriel's words were reasonable. After all, it was thanks to Dmitri's finest steel products. House Muriel managed to establish the wealth they enjoy currently. However, it wasn't enough to justify his decision to betray Golden Bank. While his relationship with Dmitri only regarded steel products, Golden Bank greatly influenced House Muriel by providing various items to support its wealth. In the end, House Muriel was a household of merchants. This fact alone never changed. Because its business comprised multiple categories, including steel, it would inevitably suffer significant damage if the Count refused Golden Bank's request. Its steel business wasn't worth risking the entire future of the house. Thus, Hoffman still couldn't understand why Count Muriel wouldn't accept his request. The second reason is much more important. As you may know, Valhalla is a nation of warriors. The people who work for House Muriel are also passionate warriors, and recently, Roman Dmitri began a swordsmanship revolution through his demonstration, the Count continued. Count Fabius hadn't said much in his meeting with Count Muriel. Instead, he briefly explained the consequences House Muriel would face if it chose to cut its ties with Dmitri. House Dmitri is the frontrunner of this revolution. Roman Dmitri recently revealed the concept of the core and promised to share more details with those who maintained a friendly relationship with his house. The tide of the times is changing, President Hoffman. With Roman Dmitri leading this new era, what would House Muriel get for turning its back on him? The warriors of Valhalla will refuse to work for us if we choose to stand against Dmitri. Not only that, but House Muriel will inevitably regress toward destruction if we cling to Alexander's method, which is now outdated. You should also know that the power of the warriors in each houses is what resolves conflicts in Valhalla, the Count explained. As he said, the warriors' practical strength was extremely significant in Valhalla. It was evident what would happen to those who continued to use Alexander's way of manifesting aura if a conflict were to arise in Valhalla. Destruction would be inevitable. Dmitri was a pioneer. Nothing good would come to those who stood against them, let alone failing to bandwagon with them, who were now perceived as the front-runners in this revolution. The cultures in Kronos and Valhalla were completely different. While the emperor's authority was considered absolute in the former, Valhalla was still a nation that valued individual strength. Count Muriel begged for Hoffman's understanding in his desperate voice, appealing to emotions. President Hoffman, please don't corner me like this. I beg for your understanding, considering the relationship House Muriel and Golden Bank have developed over generations. The two failed to reach an agreement. Hoffman finally realized the source of Roman Dmitri's competence, failing to convince Count Muriel. So, he already knew his martial arts would keep others from turning against him. Hoffman muttered in his mind. It appeared like Roman had seized the ultimate power on the continent thanks to his swordsmanship revolution. The fact that all of the Aura Knights on the continent desired to learn his martial arts was a realm not even Golden Bank could influence with its endless wealth. The sense of admiration for him was even stronger in Valhalla. Hoffman was confident it would be a piece of cake for him to convince the Valhallan, but to his dismay, Count Muriel refused to compromise. Roman was far more competent than Hoffman anticipated. He had never seen a man successfully seize the initiative in a conflict against Golden Bank. I won't let things go as you please, he said in his mind, gritting his teeth. The president of Golden Bank, or so-called the Ruthless Bulldog, was a man who didn't know when and how to give up. He had earned such a reputation because he would use every means possible to achieve the task at hand. Roman was a difficult opponent that couldn't be defeated with money alone. It was his mistake for underestimating the young Dmitri and trying to convince him, whom not even Kronos could easily defeat. However, not everyone in this world was like Roman. Evidently, Hoffman failed to convince Marquis Valentino because of his intimate ties with Roman and Count Muriel because of Valhalla's unusual sentiment. However, he was confident the last person he would meet would most certainly side with him. The billionaire of the coalition of the kingdoms, Vincent, is a man like myself. No matter how influential Roman Dmitri is with his swordsmanship revolution, I know Vincent wouldn't be able to ignore the gold before his eyes. Hoffman was infuriated. The irritation was almost about to drive him up the wall. Until now, no one had ever gone against Golden Bank's will. The unexpected circumstances were getting on his nerves. Thus, he refused to let this issue slide. He knew if he failed to retaliate against Dmitri after all the humiliation he suffered, being threatened and paying 1 million gold, he would leave a wrong precedence in the bank's history. He had to destroy Dmitri's steel industry. There was no better way to get his revenge. The enmity inside his heart had reached its peak. I will show you, Roman Dmitri, what it means to stand against infinite wealth and power. Hoffman finally arrived at his final destination, the kingdom of Frank of the Coalition. This was where he would bring an end to his anger. Once was happenstance. Twice was a coincidence. And the third time it was enemy action. Hoffman, who usually thought positively of this quote, couldn't hide his frustration once he entered the reception room of Viscount Vincent's mansion. He, we meet again, said Count Fabius, the weasel of Dmitri, as he greeted Hoffman with his unique sly smile. Chapter 308. At Every Turn. Part 3. Hoffman felt his teeth on edge. First, Valentino, then Muriel, and now Vincent. He was highly annoyed to find Count Fabius wherever he went while traveling the 3 states. Plus, Dmitri was utterly ruining his plan. He felt like punching Count Fabius's giggling face but had to suppress his anger since he had to set his priorities straight. Well, I had to meet you two at once since none of you were willing to postpone your arrangement. It seems both of you came for the same purpose, so why not just proceed with the meeting together, asked Viscount Vincent. Contrary to his well-mannered words, his intentions were evident. It seemed apparent that the Viscount had intentionally brought Hoffman and Count Fabius together to inflate his value since he had become the hot potato regarding the steel industry. Viscount Vincent was indeed sly and clever. While holding an innocent face as if he knew nothing, he greeted the two at his negotiation table. Both Hoffman and Count Fabius knew the Viscount's intentions. However, none could say a word because of his wealth's significance in this competition. Even Hoffman, who would have normally pressured his counterpart using Golden Bank's name, obediently followed the Viscount into the reception room, desperate to resolve his anxiety. All right. I'll do as you please. Hoffman whispered blissfully as he followed the Viscount. The fact that Viscount Vincent was a snob was an advantage for Golden Bank. Viscount Vincent, since you are always well informed about the matters happening around the continent, I won't beat around the bushes. Golden Bank and Dmitri are going our separate ways. I don't intend to restore my relationship with Dmitri no matter what, so I'm asking my partners to do the same. To be honest, I'm greatly disappointed by my counterpart's decision as a person who seeks only reasonable and practical benefits. I understand that my request can put you in a tight spot, but at least I'm here to convince you why you must side with me, Hoffman began. Oh dear, Viscount Vincent gave an awkward look as he listened. However, he couldn't hide his eyes from subtly sparkling in excitement, knowing that conflict was what would trigger him to take the upper ground in this negotiation. Hoffman took his chance and proposed his condition. Cut your ties with Dmitri. And in return, House Vincent will be promised a spot in the Golden Line. Are you being serious? Viscount Vincent's eyes widened in surprise. Yes, I am. Wow. The Golden Line symbolized tremendous privilege. While Golden Bank had led Salamander financially for many generations, it has offered membership to promising partners to join the Golden Line. The organization was like a world beyond all imagination. Its members were able to enjoy inconceivable and most remarkable privileges just for sharing their future with Golden Bank. No wonder Viscount Vincent couldn't believe his ears. As you may know, becoming a member of the Golden Line means sharing your future with Golden Bank. If you accept my offer, our bank will support all businesses House Vincent will engage in. You will have the right to buy the finest quality goods at a low price, will be introduced to a distributor of our own who will help you reduce the cost of transport, and all members of the Golden Line will try to engage in a trade with Vincent, Hoffman explained. His offer was more than just killing two birds with one stone. It almost sounded like Hoffman was giving Viscount Vincent a chance to kill hundreds of birds with a single pebble. Even with simple calculations, the Viscount knew how remarkable the privileges were. Golden Bank is technically a loan company. We will minimize the interest rate for you on your loans and lend you all the money you ask for with credit alone. These are only the tip of the iceberg of all the privileges the Golden Line members get to enjoy. Honestly, I don't think I can make a better offer for you than this. As you may know, not all members of our organization were rich when they first joined. However, they undoubtedly experienced dramatic growth in just a few years. Imagine how much Vincent will grow with its already established wealth. House Vincent, the wealthiest family of Frank Kingdom and the Coalition, will undoubtedly become a giant once you escape this small well. I would strongly advise you not to miss this chance, he continued. It was indeed a tempting offer. Viscount Vincent knew he would be nothing but a fool if he refused such an offer to join the Golden Line as a merchant. However, he was still hesitant, with a lot in mind. I won't lie. It sure is a tempting offer. I know for certain that no one in this world would be able to refuse your offer, President Hoffman. However, there are a lot of things House Vincent must consider at this point. I hope you understand. We have engaged in our activities under the jurisdiction of the Coalition of the Kingdoms for years. Since our foundation is in Frank Kingdom, I must consider the political consequences too, the Viscount replied. The world had entered an era of upheaval. The world was changing. Considering Frank's political consequences, Viscount Vincent wouldn't have been so hesitant if he had received the offer before the war between Dmitri and Kronos. However, the situation now had changed entirely. Frank Kingdom had vowed to serve Dmitri. In other words, as a member of Frank Kingdom, Viscount Vincent couldn't so easily side with Golden Bank and choose to stand against Roman. He knew that would mark the end of his house. The moment he decided to betray his kingdom and the entire coalition would mean isolation from the whole region and destroying all his infrastructures established in the domain. It was only natural for him to be hesitant, aware of the consequences he would face. He knew he couldn't earn a better opportunity like this from Hoffman but couldn't be so hasty. Various thoughts crossed his mind, giving him a headache. The Viscount deliberately arranged a meeting with Count Fabius and Hoffman to gain the most from this negotiation. Your proposal can shake the foundation of my house, President Hoffman. How do you plan on making up for that? The Viscount asked. He passed the buck to Hoffman. He would accept the offer if the president could provide a solution. If not, he would turn to Count Fabius and begin his talks with Dmitri. Hoffman laughed at the Viscount's question. It was as expected. Viscount Vincent was the snob of snobs. He couldn't be more delighted. It's quite simple. Come out to the big seas. How long do you plan on sticking with a small well like Frank Kingdom? We will help you settle either in Kronos or Valhalla. I'm not telling you to abandon your kingdom, but by expanding your options, you can establish a firm ground that won't be shaken no matter what comes your way. Not even Frank Kingdom will be able to hinder you, he replied. It was a perfect solution. Entering the empires. The words alone made the Viscount thrilled, full of hope. He couldn't suppress his smile, listening to the unbelievable offer. Count Fabius, what are your thoughts on Golden Bank's offer? The Viscount turned to the Count and asked. His heart was already leaning towards the bank. Nonetheless, he had to hear what Dmitri had to say to counter the offer. After all, Dmitri could always make an even better offer to turn his heart. However, it seems like a good offer even to me. You shouldn't miss your chance, Viscount Vincent. Count Fabius chuckled. His words instantly turned the warm atmosphere cold like ice. Hoffman was stunned at Count Fabius's brazen behavior. He couldn't believe his ears. After all the efforts to come and persuade the Count insisted he join Golden Bank's hand. Even the Viscount couldn't believe his ears. So, he had to question one more time. Are you sure you want me to join hands with Golden Bank? Why not? Count Fabius replied, leaning his back against the couch. He calmly sipped from his teacup while gazing at the Viscount's perplexed face. Dmitri can't offer the same conditions as Golden Bank. To be honest, we don't intend to give you such privileges for taking our side, the Count explained. Well then, if that's the case, the Viscount said. But Count Fabius interrupted. Not even Viscount Vincent could suppress his anger at the Count's rude manner. Before continuing, Count Fabius raised his back from the couch and gently put his teacup on the table. Let me tell you an interesting story before you make any decision, Viscount Vincent. And I'm telling you this out of concern. This isn't the first power struggle like this occurred on the continent. And whenever a power struggle like this happens, the presidents of Golden Bank have always said the same thing to convince their counterparts. Join the Golden Line. If you promise to share your future with us, we will promise you a bright, shining future in return, said the Count. Then, he grinned. The offers made by Golden Bank were obvious because they never failed to promise the same thing over and over again. However, it was a promise no one could easily refuse. That was why Hoffman also made the same offer to Viscount Vincent, which Count Fabius had already read through. President Hoffman is right. Most of the Golden Line members have grown tremendously in wealth and power. However, are you aware of those who failed? And the similarities they share? The Count asked the Viscount. What do you mean? Viscount Vincent questioned. I'm telling you to face the reality. Those who failed to expand their businesses despite becoming members of the Golden Line were all members recruited during past power struggles. In other words, they were people whom Golden Bank never genuinely considered true Golden Line members and were accepted only to win in the competitions. And those members are being discriminated against within the Golden Line discreetly. While acting as if the Golden Bank is actively implementing its promise, it has secretly driven those members to destruction, the Count added. There were several precedents throughout history. As a matter of fact, those neglected within the organization were eventually destined to face their demise without even being given the opportunity to raise their voice. You and I both know that my words are the truth. If you want me to prove my words, look back at the history. So, let me ask you again. Golden Bank may desire you now, but do you really think President Hoffman's heart would remain the same once this is over? Count Fabius asked. Quit the nonsense. Hoffman raged. He jumped up from his seat in anger, but the Count's gaze remained fixed on the Viscount. Dmitri is different from Golden Bank. Once an ally, you will forever be one. We will never betray you. This is the only promise I can offer to House Vincent. Things were going out of hand. Hoffman hurriedly raised his voice, noticing the change on the Viscount's face. Viscount Vincent. Don't be fooled by such absurd and cunning words. Golden Bank has gotten this far with trust alone. We value our promises like 1,000 gold and desire to build a future with House Vincent. You should know that an opportunity to join the Golden Line is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. It wasn't that the Viscount didn't know how valuable this opportunity was. However, he could help to be hesitant after listening to Count Fabius's remark. Count Fabius is right. Unlike how I will always have to worry about being betrayed if I join hands with Golden Bank, I know that at least I will be free from such concerns if I side with Dmitri. I've also heard rumors about Roman Dmitri's loyalty to his subordinates. Then, I must decide which would be best for House Vincent's future. The Viscount couldn't easily make up his mind. One thing people mistook about snobs like Viscount Vincent was that they would never make reckless decisions. Every decision they made was made after much thought. Though condemned by many for his ulterior motives, this Count Vincent always chose the safest path for the sake of himself and his house. I will accept Count Fabius's offer. Vincent will share our future with Dmitri. This Count Vincent finally opened his mouth. He made his decision. In the end, he chose trust over practical benefits. The Viscount knew his cooperation with Golden Bank would earn him extraordinary wealth. But in the end, safety and stability were far more important for House Vincent, which already had enough wealth to enjoy. A future with Golden Bank seemed bleak. On the other hand, a future with Dmitri seemed much brighter as Roman led the new era. He believed Dmitri was worth trusting based on the rumors he'd heard. The negotiation ended. Hoffman lost his patience, failing even to convince Viscount Vincent. Wham! Clatter! You worthless bastards! He threw the table across the room. With a boiled, flushed face, he burst out in anger at the Viscount. Vincent! How dare you refuse my offer? A membership to the Golden Line is an opportunity even the richest men in the empires are desperate to earn. And here you are, refusing my offer, failing to know your place. I promise to destroy you along with Dmitri and its partners. I, Hoffman, the president of Golden Bank, will eradicate all of you. Then, he turned to Count Fabius. It was because of this sly weasel his plans had been thrown down the drain. You mark my words, Count Fabius. The day Dmitri falls, I will capture you alive and... Lower your voice, the Count interrupted. What did you just say, you jerk? Hoffman growled. The atmosphere grew tense. The Count, who usually held a smile, fiercely glared back at Hoffman as if he had become another person. I said shut your mouth if you want to keep your pitiful life. You fucking bastard. Chapter 309. At Every Turn. Part 4. Hoffman couldn't believe his ears at first. He could suppress his anger no further, as his body began to shake at such vulgar profanity. How dare you call the president of Golden Bank out with that vulgar mouth of yours, Count Fabius? You must be out of your mind. It seems you've forgotten the days you sucked up to me a few years back while serving under Roman Dmitri. You should be the one shutting your mouth before I tear you apart, Hoffman bellowed. As Hoffman said, this wasn't the first time he met with Count Fabius. Though it was only for a brief moment, Hoffman clearly remembered the time the Count had come to see him to be in his good books. Idiot, Count Fabius grinned. He gazed up at Hoffman while moving his foot up and down with his legs crossed. Hoffman, you're the one failing to read the situation right now. Dmitri is a nation that refused to kneel before the Kronos Empire and rather defeated it. So, how dare you consider yourself superior to us? Don't flatter yourself. No matter how powerful your wealth may be, it can't solve everything in this world. And you know that, don't you? He said. Creak. The Count also got up from his seat. Perhaps it was because of his smile that Hoffman failed to notice, but the Count was much bigger than he expected. The atmosphere soon grew tense. Dmitri is trying our best to keep ourselves from crossing the line. We're trying to act like gentlemen here, so don't dare us to cross the line with your hostile words. Choose your words wisely. If not, we will crush that wealth of yours and drive you to your destruction just like how we slaughtered the imperial troops of Kronos, the Count continued. Then, he took a step closer. The two stared at each other, standing right at each other's face. By the way, I hope you're not threatening, trusting your golden knights waiting outside would come to your rescue. He. Oh, surely not. The president of Golden Bank wouldn't be such a fool, right? Then, I'm curious to learn the source of your courage to threaten me like this. Do you think your wealth can protect you if Dmitri orders someone to assassinate you? The Count smiled. Hoffman's eyes trembled. This was not a part of his plan. He thought the Count would back down at his threats, but instead, Count Fabius refused to back away. He was like a bull charging at full speed, refusing to slow down. It's as Fabius said. Golden Bank can't protect me from Dmitri's assassination attempt. Dmitri had so many more monsters other than Roman Dmitri himself. Hoffman was aware of how formidable his knights were, including Chris and Kevin. Not even the most expensive mercenaries could protect him from their menace. After all, even the strongest army of Kronos suffered a humiliating loss against Dmitri at Rascal and Cordes. Hoffman was at a loss for words. To his understanding, Count Fabius, the once so-called sly weasel of Kairos, never used to be this aggressive. It seemed like he had changed since vowing his allegiance to Dmitri. The president of Golden Bank couldn't understand why a man who used to mooch off other influential figures would threaten him with such radical words. His eyes shivered. It was the last remaining bit of his pride keeping him from turning away, but Hoffman already knew he was fighting a losing battle. Tap. The Count took another step closer toward Hoffman. Hoffman could sense the Count's breath brush his skin. Count Fabius glared down at him and said, "Hey." People would say that Count Fabius, the weasel of Dmitri, was a typical man who was haughty to the humble and humble to the haughty. Lower your eyes if you don't have the guts to wage war with Dmitri, you bastard. Hoffman was clearly the humble one in Fabius's eyes. Hoffman left the mansion, failing to achieve his objective. There was nothing Viscount Vincent could say as he watched the president of Golden Bank leave as if he were fleeing. Damn it. Beads of sweat covered his forehead. His initial plan was to raise his worth by forcing Hoffman and Fabius into a competition, but he didn't expect Count Fabius to threaten him like this. The Viscount felt his heart thump recklessly after all that happened before his eyes. He stood utterly dumbfounded by how the Count treated Hoffman like a mere loan shark from a slum. Dmitri wasn't afraid of a thing. It was blunt and bold, even against the most powerful figures on the continent. It seems like I picked the wrong opponent. It turns out Dmitri has already met all the necessary conditions to establish itself as an empire. Viscount Vincent belatedly realized he was a mere shrimp in a fight between whales. He couldn't say a word, afraid he would be the one to suffer a big hit. So, he stood at his place and awkwardly gazed at the Count. Plop. Count Fabius returned to his seat. Finding the Viscount's stunned face, he returned to his old self, erasing his fierce gaze and smiling back at the man. Please have a seat. Now that we don't have anyone to disturb us, don't you think we should resume our talks, he said. What do you mean? The Viscount asked, awkwardly blinking his eyes. His mind went blank. Perplexed by the Count's sudden change of atmosphere, he couldn't grasp what the Count wanted to discuss. Dmitri isn't so cold-hearted. House Vincent will suffer damage if Golden Bank cuts its ties with you. And Dmitri doesn't intend to neglect you. Did you really think we would only offer trust? Of course, we will offer the appropriate compensation for your loyalty. But we wouldn't have started this conversation if you chose to side with the bank in the first place. Dmitri only promises rewards to those who remain loyal to us. We're not some tyrant who intends to pressure our allies with empty promises like "let's share our future together," the Count continued. Count Fabius's attitude completely changed. He was no longer the person viciously yelling at Hoffman. A kind and generous man sat before the Viscount. Viscount Vincent, you can be honest with me. Tell me what you expect from Dmitri. The Viscount had goosebumps at the Count's unexpected generosity. After all, he knew the man sitting before him was the weasel of Dmitri. Viscount Vincent knew what lay below his sly smile. He was relieved he hadn't made the mistake of turning his back against Dmitri. Hoffman returned to his headquarters. His servants courteously welcomed their president's return, lining up along the radiant and dazzling building, but Hoffman didn't say a word as he walked down the hallway in helplessness. During his entire life as the president of Golden Bank, a symbol of absolute power, he had never experienced such a humiliation. People were always kind to him. Though Golden Bank couldn't earn nobility due to its custom of staying politically neutral, all aristocrats across the continent bowed before the presence of the president of Golden Bank. Even Kronos wasn't an exception. While even the mightiest empire acknowledged his presence, he couldn't believe how Dmitri refused to compromise with him. He was infuriated. He couldn't ignore their insolence over what they had done to him. It would only be a matter of time before his reputation got defamed if rumors about his incident in Dmitry were to spread. The predecessors had once said that if I face a problem that can't even be solved with money, I should use the long-hidden secret of Golden Bank. I never thought a day would come for me actually to utilize it. Hoffman clenched his teeth tight in anger. Although devastated by the humiliation, he wanted revenge no matter the cost. He promised to tear Roman Dmitry and Fabius to shreds and prove to the world that Golden Bank never forgot its enemies. He headed to his office. Once arriving, he walked toward the small vault hidden behind his study where the long-hidden secret of Golden Bank lay. Grasp. He pulled out a dagger from his pocket. And after poking it with his finger, he dropped his blood into a hollow gap in the vault's lock. Whoosh. Crohair. A sudden blue light flashed from the vault. Blue flames surrounded it but weren't hot at all. Hoffman slowly reached down and opened it with shaking eyes. Inside the box was a short description of where he should contact with the magic telegram. No one on the continent knew how and when Golden Bank suddenly emerged into this world. The source of its infinite wealth was yet to be revealed. However, the people believed the bank's first president must be extraordinary. Hoffman reached for the magic telegram and spoke. "Your Majesty, Alexander, please accept my apologies for my belated greetings, my lord," said Hoffman. The secret of Golden Bank was finally revealed before Hoffman. A month had passed since the incident between Dmitry and Hoffman. Time flew by fast. As the day Roman Dmitry promised approached, Marquis Valentino headed to Dmitry in the early morning. 7 a.m. "Is Lord Roman out from his forge?" the Marquis asked. "Not yet, my lord. If you can wait in the reception room, I will let you know as soon as he comes out," replied Hans. "All right. Make sure to contact me first," the Marquis replied. He couldn't hide his desperate face at Hans's response. Even as he headed to the reception room, he couldn't help turning around to see if Roman had come out. It almost looked like he was a young man waiting for his first love. 8 a.m. "Is he not out yet?" "Yes, my lord." 9 a.m. "Any news?" "Nothing, my lord." 10 a.m. "Is he?" "Not yet, my lord." The Marquis showed up every hour to check on Hans to see if Roman had left his forge. Disappointment overshadowed his face as time passed, but he refused to give up. The month Roman promised Marquis Valentino almost felt like 1,000 years to him. It was painful. With high hopes that Roman would forge one of his greatest masterpieces, the Marquis persevered all struggle and pains in his mansion until this day. The day had finally come to bear its fruit. His body had become gaunt over the month, yet his eyes were sparkling brighter than ever. "I refuse to wait in the reception room any further. Please take me to his workshop. I will wait for him there until he blasts the door open and comes out," the Marquis requested. "No, my lord. That's impossible," Hans replied. "I promise just to wait there." "My apologies, but I won't be able to accept your request." Hans had to refuse since no one was allowed near Roman's workshop. Marquis Valentino had no choice but to wait in the reception room. He had arrived at Dmitry early in the morning, but the sun was already setting. An ominous feeling wrapped around his heart. The door finally opened to bring an end to his endless waiting. But it only took a second to stain his delighted face with disappointment. The man who entered through the door was none other than Hans. "I'm sorry, my lord. But it appears Lord Roman will take a few more days. Why don't you return to Kairos?" "I promise to contact you first once Lord Roman comes out of his forge," said the servant. "No. I refuse to leave." Marquis Valentino stood firm, determined to wait until he could meet Roman. "I will wait no matter how long it takes. I will find a place to stay in Dmitry, so contact me once Lord Roman comes out." Valentino's stubborn persistence failed to bear its fruit today. A few days had passed. Hans couldn't hide his worries now that quite some time had passed since the date Roman had promised. "I wonder what's taking him longer than usual." Roman had gone into training several times before, but not once had he gone beyond the promised schedule. Something didn't seem right. The ominous feeling grew bigger with Marquis Valentino visiting Hans every day to ask about Roman. And when 5 days had passed, Hans also lost his patience. He went to ask for Felix's help to confirm Roman's safety without violating his order. "Sir Felix, may you please use your magic to confirm what is happening inside Lord Roman's workshop?" "Sure." This was the only choice Hans had. Once arriving at the workshop, Felix manifested his mana. Mana detection. It wasn't special magic. Felix simply spread his mana into the air to sense Roman's mana within his forge. He would be able to confirm if anything had happened to the young lord by detecting the state of his mana. But Felix's eyes widened in shock once his mana entered the forge. He sensed something unusual within. This can't be. The space within Roman's forge was entirely a different world from outside. Unlike the peaceful atmosphere outside, a massive mana explosion was erupting within. "What on earth is happening here?" the mage muttered. Felix held a dumbfounded look as he gazed at the workshop with trembling eyes.